Our court has found the 1 million signatures that he needed to push that referendum. And of course, outlined on the top page of the Standard are the requirements that Punguza Mzigo initiative is pushing for, including the introduction of a 1 7-year term in the presidency, and to reduce the number of MPs from 416 to 147, and a bunch of other requirements. And the goal here is to apparently make the budget more effective to work for the Mwananchi. Of course, increasing the county revenue from 35% from the current 15% is one of the biggest issues that are pushing for. And of course, more equality in terms of the number of positions that women hold in government. What do you feel about this? And I'll start with you, Dr. Kamal.
Definitely some very interesting proposals.
Yeah.
I think it's important to look at this in the context of where there is such a clamor for a referendum.
Yes.
And for me, my position has been it's important to understand what are the issues and how did we come to that conclusion that these are the issues, and then now we go into the proposals. You understand, of course, from the political side, some people say this is meant to create positions for others say this. But what we've been keen on is to see proposals that are specific and that specifically address issues that relate to the common Mwananchi.
Yeah.
So I look at these proposals. They're actually good if you look at them. Of course, there's a political process that we'll go through trying to debate, the back and forth around this process. But I think what I've always been keen on, especially for the public, is that the process that we have gone through to help us, distill and say these are the issues that we want to deal with. But most important, what happens next in terms of making sure the public understands what are these issues, do they represent what we really want? And that for me has been, I've been very keen on that because I don't want us to get to a situation whereby you just go to the public and say yes, vote yes or no. But to understand these are the issues and we agree that these are the proposals that will help us address. And I'm looking at these issues to see what specifically do they address from a Punguza Mzigo, point of view that the burden is too much. This is okay, but I think we still need to go a little bit deeper into other issues that would have a direct impact on Mwananchi.
Absolutely. And there are certain emotive issues such as reducing the number of wards, I think, or was it constituencies? But of course, I'll confirm that later on. Now, let me read an excerpt from the article. It says, Kajiado County Assembly Speaker Johnson Osoi, who is the Assembly's chairman, yesterday said the ward representatives will support the bill since it recognizes its wards as units for faster growth. Now, this is obviously going to be something good, and this is the angle that the Standard is taking, why MCAs hold key to that referendum. Over to you.
I think maybe at this point we need to ask ourselves whether the referendum is inevitable. I think now it's now clear that we will definitely be going towards having a referendum. Constitutional making is a very long process. And I know from the time we enacted the new constitution, there's always been that clamor for reforms or an amendment of the constitution. And I think we're going to have the referendum. But coming to look at the points or the issues that are being raised in this bill, they're both political and also, could be like social issues where whether the Mwananchi is represented or the quest for the Mwananchi to have a referendum constitution amended, whether have properly been reflected. But it's in Kenyan politics, and I think we need to be very sincere, is that it's more politically driven. And there's also the issues of expanding the political power. People have been talking about the issues of, for example, that we are every time going into political violence or conflict because the political space is narrowed. So these are also issues that I think the debate to what will be appearing on the referendum paper still is open. I think these are very important issues as far as Punguza Mzigo is concerned, but I think the political aspect of the referendum is not clearly captured here. And I think when we reach to the point where people will be, the political element in the reform will be appearing, then there will be a lot of debate towards.
Allow me to chip in with something. I've been hesitant to talk about referendum. I think I want us to talk about amendments because referendum is not the only way. And that is what I've been saying. If we had a process where we understand what are the issues that ail us,
Yes.
what are the issues that we want to fix,
Right.
what are the proposals. Now, some of the proposals do not need to go through a referendum. There are things that can be done in Parliament. But then there are certain things in the protected area that we have to go the route of the referendum. And for me, to address the issue that is talking about the political process,
Yes.
it will be a heated issue because you can see, of course, some of these radical proposals, they would appeal, for example, to the Senate if Senate will be elevated. But of course, the National Assembly would have a certain resistance towards that. And I've been saying constitutional making process should be, and the approach should be building broad consensus as much as possible among the key players. And that is why I keep insisting referendum may not be the only route, because every time we talk about this, you say referendum is coming. But there are certain amendments, certain things that we could achieve within the current setup without necessarily going the route of the referendum. And most important is to understand the issues that have always ailed us as Kenyans. Do we actually need to go through the route of the referendum, or are there certain things that we could actually do, what you talk about political goodwill, that as stakeholders and as people who are keen on this process, we can agree that these are the issues that we are interested in, and we can actually address them through these specific mechanisms. But it needs to be a broad-based consensus.
And if what you're saying is right, and we are indeed trying to punguza the mzigo, a referendum actually has costs associated with it. So then it's a bit of an oxymoron. You can't expect us to go that route. If we're trying to reduce the cost, then maybe we should think of other routes to go.
I wouldn't look at the money that would be spent on the referendum, because actually it could, if it's done well, of course, it could end up saving costs in the long term. I would look at it that way. Perhaps what I would be interested would also be the socio-political cost of having the referendum, exactly, especially looking at what are heated political processes we've had.